Morning, Razor.
Firstly, can we get your reaction to the League Cup fourth round draw? You'll be at home, it'll be your old club, Bournemouth, at St James's.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, how things unfold. I was watching it live, and yeah, that's football for you. It always, the draws always spark up games that are really interesting. Of course, for us, really good to be at home, and it'll be a difficult game.
Yesterday then, 3 Newcastle players named in the England World Cup squad. It's the first time that the club's had 3 in an England squad for a World Cup since 1998. How meaningful a thing do you think it is for you as a manager and for Newcastle in general to have so many going to Qatar?
Yeah, I think it's great for us. I think we're very proud of our international players. I think it's really good that we try and provide a place where players can excel and do well, and hopefully get called up for their international teams. I'm delighted for all the players concerned. Of course, there's always 2 sides, and I'm disappointed for some others that have missed out. But the players that will go, they go with our best wishes, and we hope they really do well for themselves and their families.
And it was clearly a special day for Callum Wilson yesterday when he received news of his call-up. What sort of achievement is it for Wilson, given everything that he's been through with injuries, and you've been with him for a large part of his career, to get to this point where he's on the plane?
Yeah, it's an amazing thing for him individually, and I'm sure for his family. Look, Callum's had a difficult career. You know, it's not always been about the successes. He's had huge successes, and he's risen from the lower leagues to the Premier League, and now to the national squad at a World Cup. I think it's been a brilliant thing to witness firsthand for me. And then when you see how it's been achieved, you see it's been through dedication, consistency to his work, a really positive mindset. And so even sometimes when he would get injured, his first instinct was always, I'm going to come back better. And then he put the work in to come back better. So it's not just talk with Callum, he actually delivers. And he's got a way of scoring goals, a uniqueness about him. So I'm delighted for him, and I hope that he can go and hope he can make a real impact.
He wasn't in the squad for the cup tie against Crystal Palace. How is he, and is he available for Chelsea?
We'll wait and see. I think he's been training separately from the group this week. So he had an illness, so he's been away from the group. He's been working well, but I need to make a decision whether he's fit enough to play.
The game on Saturday at tea time, what will it say about you and your players if you can go and get another positive result in a big match against another side that's near you at the top of the table?
Yeah, we're hopeful to continue our good form and our momentum, and yeah, we know it's going to be a really difficult game. So Graham Potter, I really, really like and got a lot of respect for. I think his teams always tactically give you a problem, so we're going to need to deal with that. They've got world-class players, obviously, but we have to make sure we continue our excellent intensity levels and the crowd play a part, because I think that's been a big weapon for us here.
And lastly, you have over the next 6 weeks a friendly just before the Bournemouth Cup tie that weekend. You've got the trip to Saudi Arabia in early December. What does next week and the next couple of weeks look like for you and the players after the season pauses? What will you be doing?
Well, I think the players' schedule will be that they'll be given some downtime, so I think roughly around a couple of weeks they'll be away, and that'll be their choice what they do, and then they'll come back and start a mini pre-season for 4 weeks. For me, slightly unsure what I'll be doing. I'll be working, resting, a mixture of things, and obviously planning what we're going to do when we come back.
Thanks.
Eddie, how was Callum yesterday when he found out? Was there a little celebration here at the training ground?
I think we were training, and yeah, it's a bit of a blur now. Came back in and heard the news, and I think the lads were really pleased for him. Very popular member of the squad, so a lot of smiles, a lot of congratulations, but also not just for Callum, but for other players as well, which you can never take for granted being in that squad. I know a lot of people said that Kieran Trippier would be there, Nick Pope would be there, but still massive achievement for them, and it's a case of just recognising their achievement really, and of course for the other guys as well, Fabian and Bruno.
He's really put himself forward, hasn't he? I think it's been a successful campaign, should I say, for him putting his name in the frame to get in the squad, but he's got there in the end.
Yeah, I think in terms of looking at that, Gareth will purely look at the football, and he'll have made his decision based on what he's seen, and Gareth's been to a lot of our games, so I think Callum's earned his call up in the right way. I think the beauty of it, they know each other as well, so Gareth will know what Callum's effect with the group will be behind the scenes. So I think that's been a real benefit probably for Callum. But I think he's done it in the right way. I think he scored goals and he's contributed to us and a successful start to the season, and he's got rewarded for that. I
know you've spoken a lot before about his character and what he's like as an individual. When you signed him back in 2014, did you think that, you know, a matter of 6-8 years later he'd be going to a World Cup as one of only 2 out-and-out strikers for England? Did you think he could reach those levels?
I think I'd be lying if I said those were the thoughts going through my head. I think when I watched him play before he signed for us, I saw a player of huge potential. Physically, one of the best players I'd seen at that time, like explosively quick, quite unique running style. Scored some really, really good goals. Needed work and refining in certain areas of his game, and then when we signed him, I was just, you know, you get a feeling instantly that this guy's special. This guy's got the character and the confidence to be able to be a centre forward for a big club, and he's just gone on, and he's scored a number of goals and done very well.
Does it make it even more impressive given the injuries that he has suffered and how he's fought back from them with a smile on his face?
Yeah, I think that's always the question mark. So when you have a setback and a disappointment, and every player has them just in different ways, and Callum's was through his injuries. As I said, every time he suffered one, there was no side of him that ever looked depressed or down or any type of negative emotion. It was always, right, I've got to deal with this and I'm going to come back better and I'll score even more goals. And it was almost, you'd question that yourself sometimes. You go, he's reacted well to that. But I do think that's just his personality to life, and I think that is consistent. So that's the same when he's at work and when he's at home.
He's going to want to play then when he's over there, isn't he?
He's going to want to contribute for sure, because he doesn't want to just go there in name. He wants to go there and contribute. And Gareth must feel he has the ability to do that, or he wouldn't have picked him. So I think he will give everything after our last game to prepare himself and be ready to do that for England.
And in Kieran Trippier, you've got a player who he's openly said he's at the top of his game. He's playing some of his best football, and he's obviously a leader here at Newcastle. You get the impression he's a leader within the England group as well. How proud are you to have someone like that involved with the national team?
Yeah, Trips has been fantastic here. I've said this a number of times. He really has, and he really is a leader. That's a genuine thing. He's very vocal. He demands high standards from people. Inspires people around him. So he'll be doing that for England, no doubt, like he does for us. I think he'll be a huge player for England.
Do you think England can go all the way in Qatar?
I do. I'm very patriotic myself. I hope that they can. I believe they've got the manager and the players to do that, so I wish them luck.
I'm going to throw you a curveball here. Who do you see winning the World Cup?
I can only say England. I do think there's some dangers to them. I think Brazil are very strong. But I have to have the belief that England can win.
And I don't know if I missed it earlier. Ryan Fraser, he was missing the other night. He's
got a calf problem.
Yeah, so missing for the weekend.
Possibly.
Yeah. Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi.
There's that cliche, a win's a win, but do you take satisfaction that even when the team doesn't put in the best performance, they're still getting results?
I think that there's different ways to win. It's never always going to be perfect. You hope for a really good performance and a win. That's the ideal in football. Sometimes you don't get the performance, and if you don't, then you still want to find a way to win. And I think we did that against Southampton, where we were really, really good in both boxes, both attacking and defending. The middle part of the game wasn't so good, and I'd say for obvious reasons against Crystal Palace we were slightly disjointed. We didn't have a normal rhythm, but I thought the second half was actually a much better performance than the first, so maybe a game of two halves for us there.
Regardless of what happens against Chelsea, Newcastle will be in the top 4 at Christmas. I know that's giving fans a lot of satisfaction. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think I've been asked this question before, and I think the Christmas thing's a little bit misleading because it's a different season in terms of number of games. But yeah, I think I can only really look back at this first part of the season after Chelsea. And I think once that's done, we'll analyse it, reflect on where we can improve, and then try and implement that during the mini pre-season that we have to come back an even better team. But certainly we're in a good place at the moment, but we just have to keep that going for one more game.
And when you have this break, I mean, it's unprecedented. How do you keep that momentum going? Because it's so important when the club has had such an extraordinary first few months of the season.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily how I keep it going. I think it's a case of when we all come back together, and that will be slightly fragmented because possibly people will stay in the World Cup for longer than others. But when we do get the group together, then I think the work we do, the collective mindset we have, the spirit you have for the second half of the season is going to be key. And it's almost like you're starting again, I feel. So I'm not sure. We will obviously look back and take the good bits from what we've done, but I almost think there'll be a clean slate and we have to attack the season again.
You've said that you think England can go and win it. How likely is it that you think you could have a World Cup winner come the restart of the season?
Well, I think that there's possibly a chance that could happen, but I think when you look at the World Cup, it's like any football, it's unpredictable, and who knows what will happen. All I hope is that the players come back fit and healthy, and hopefully happy after their respective countries have done well.
And just finally, we know that the vast majority of Newcastle fans are supportive of the club's ownership, but there is a group that's planning to hold a silent protest ahead of the Chelsea game. Do you understand why that minority of fans want to get their viewpoint across?
Well, I didn't know that, so I think that's a difficult one for me to comment on currently.
Okay, Chris. Hi Eddie, just sort of following up on the questions around the World Cup. I mean, obviously I know you say you're a very patriotic, big England supporter, but you must be a little bit gutted that the break is coming now, you know, with the team in such good form.
Yeah, I haven't tended to think about that, to be honest, in terms of a negative for us, because it's just been there. You can't wish it wasn't, and so it is. So we've had to make all our preparations around that, and once you do, and you hopefully get your planning right, then you accept it. So I think the players are ready for the World Cup, the ones that are going, and I think the other players are ready for the stoppage. I think they're mentally prepared for it.
Yeah, just in terms of the break, I mean, I know you said that you're going to do a bit of work, that the players will have a few weeks sort of downtime, and then you're all back together for a mini pre-season. Clearly a lot of thought has gone into that, so that when the season restarts, you can sort of hit the ground running.
Well, it's vital. It's quite a long break. It's, as you say, it's unprecedented during the season, so we have to make sure that when we come back together, that the team can function physically, tactically, technically, and the only way we're going to do that is to execute a really good plan to our work. So yeah, I think the games that we've organised will be good for us, and hopefully we'll be fit enough to the Bournemouth game we want to try and do as well as we can in, and then when the Premier League restarts, we're ready for it.
And just looking ahead to this weekend, if Callum Wilson doesn't feature, you know, if he doesn't get over that illness, you've kind of got a ready-made replacement in Chris Wood, in that, you know, he scored in the Premier League last time out, and then obviously played in the Cup in midweek. Yeah,
Chris is a really important part of our squad. I'd say he scored a brilliant goal against Southampton. It was a really good finish, a very good team move, and he finished it beautifully. And his penalty the other night was a penalty of real confidence, and really pleased to him score that, and it got us off to the perfect start, being penalty taker number one. So really pleased with him. I think he's in a good place, and yeah, and hopefully if needed, he can perform very well.
Thank you.
Thanks, broadcasters. Damien? Eddie, you talked about Callum there being about delivery, not talk. Can he deliver for England on the biggest stage of all if he's called upon?
I think he can. Yeah, I think he's got everything in the sense of his game. He's probably in the peak of his powers. He's got a really good experience behind him now. He's played for England before, so I don't think it will faze him. And I think he has the inner belief that he's there to play and hopefully score for his country.
Next week you're going to send away half, possibly more of your first team. Do you spend the next 6 weeks just worrying about it?
I don't think that's healthy for me. But yeah, I know what you mean. I think there will be an element of that where you're just, I said earlier, that you're hoping they come back fit and healthy. But you're out of your control. I think we had one international break recently where in 2 days we had 3 injuries, and it was that can happen. Just random things can happen in football. So yeah, we hope they come back fit, healthy, and happy. And but also you hope that they've fulfilled what they need from the World Cup.
Okay.
Miles, how will the break look for Isak? Is he still on course to be ready for the start of this main pre-season?
Yeah, so I'm not sure whether he'll train with us initially. So I think he had a scan the other day on his injury, and it looks good. It looks like it's healed, but now the process starts of building him up and making sure that he's robust enough to come through training. So I'm not sure he'll join in with us initially, but we hope by the time the game starts, he's available for selection.
And you mentioned yourself, you've obviously some downtime as well, a lot of work as well. That obviously some of that work will be start looking towards January in terms of what's available and what you can and can't do.
Yeah, I think there will be a shift for me during the break towards January. Still quite a distance to go before we get there, but certainly in terms of formulating plans and what may or may not happen and what is possible, I certainly try and have those conversations with people so we're as well prepared as we can be.
Jordan?
I know you say you don't analyse the table at this stage in the season, but for them to know that you're 9 points above Chelsea, just how important might that be come the end of the season?
I don't think it's Chelsea related. I just think we want to win. We want to try and get as many points as we can. I think the players have done really well in consistently being able to produce not just the performances but get the results that we've wanted. But this is going to be a tough game. We're under no illusions how difficult this task will be. So I think we're going to need possibly our highest level of performance to win.
And just going back to the Carabao Cup, obviously a number of Premier League teams out in midweek. The next round as well, you've got Manchester City versus Liverpool. Are you sensing an opportunity to progress further in that competition now? Yeah,
I think we've always sensed that. I think when you're in it, you have a chance. If you're out of it, you've got no chance. So the longer we can stay in the competition is something we really, really want to do. We're desperate to get to the latter stages, and then, as everyone knows, anything can happen. So we'll really focus on the Bournemouth game and try and give our best to win.
Kieran?
Oh yeah, the England players when they're away, they tend to ask about each other's club situations. I think Nick did that with Kieran Trippier before he signed. Do you think having 3 ambassadors, as it were, could help you in a way with attracting players as well?
Well, I certainly won't be briefing them on what to say. It's the beauty of that is when players speak to players, hopefully it's all authentic and the players will just give their opinion of life at Newcastle. If that does happen, then hopefully it's good things.
Newcastle played Chelsea here last season and it was one of Graham's interim games, and obviously a very different squad. They had to use very different tactics to play a low block and it's a bit reactive. He said himself it wasn't the way he wanted to play. How have you gone about when teams come here now? There isn't that fear factor, is there? You really want to be proactive and take the game to them?
Yeah, we do. I think that's part of the way that I want my teams to play. I think in part that comes down to trying to build a team that entertains and to try and I always try and picture myself as a supporter and try and think what would I want to see from my team if I was coming here as a supporter. I think that helped shape my philosophy when I was starting out in coaching and management. I think it's important that you don't really forget that as a manager. So we want to see high energy, an intent to try and win the game from the players. I think it can only come across in the right body language, and it's just trying to set the environment for the players to try and deliver that, try and get those conditions right. So there's no right or wrong way to approach a football game. It's just that's how I see the game at this moment in time.
Okay, Lee?
Morning, Ellie. Almiron goes into this game. He's not going to the World Cup. Obviously, they didn't qualify Paraguay. So is that a good thing because he's kind of carefree going in it compared to some who might be?
I haven't noticed anyone affected by the World Cup internally from the group. I've seen, even going back to the Crystal Palace game in the week, all the guys that didn't start the game were desperate to get on the pitch and help contribute. So I think that's been a brilliant thing for me to see as the manager, that I think the players are very current, they're in the moment and they're trying to help the team. So I think Miggy hopefully will be in a good place, but I hope the other players are as well.
Yeah, just how much are you enjoying seeing him be successful at Newcastle and really bring his A game to the table?
Yeah, certainly enjoying watching him play at the moment. I mean, even when he came on, he had the best chance of the game really the other night from a lovely passage of play, and he's just in that frame of mind at the moment that he's enjoying himself. He is free, as you say. I think physically, emotionally, he's playing very, very well, and it's a great thing to witness.
And just on the players, you've given them a couple of weeks off. How important is it for them to have that family time and sort of relax mentally?
I think it's important, especially when you fast forward to next summer, where I don't think the break will be long at all. So players do need a mental break. Even the guys that go into the World Cup at some stage will need a a chance to refresh, because I think it's very difficult to go consistently without that breather. So yes, I think they need to utilise it while keeping themselves fit. So we will be having ways to monitor their fitness and make sure they come back in good shape.
Okay. Craig? Why did Callum train separately this week? Was that a risk of infection, or was he just not at the speed?
No, it's just to keep him separate from the group due to his illness. Yeah.
And is it a complicated decision tomorrow? Is to play in Callum, or for how long? By that I mean, is the England thing there in your thinking with regards to the World Cup and Callum's fitness? If his body is slightly things going into the game.
I think no. I'll always look at it purely from Newcastle's perspective and the player. You know, can the player give me his best physical effort? Is he able to do that? And that's not Callum Wilson related. That's every individual, and I'll always make that decision based on the information I get.
Callum was obviously one of the headlines coming out of the squad yesterday. Another one as well who was taking the headlines this morning, James Maddison. What did you make of his inclusion as well?
I didn't really think too much about it, to be honest. I was only concentrating on our players. Really tunnel vision for me at the moment in terms of Newcastle, and obviously just making sure that my players are okay.
She might not answer this. Has James Maddison's value gone up by his World Cup inclusion?
I've got no idea.
Chris?
Morning. You don't won't know yet whether he's in the squad or not for the Netherlands. I think they find out today. I mean, if he was called up, what did you think that he could shine in the World Cup as well? He's come here and done really, really well. Hasn't actually played for the Netherlands yet, though. Do you think he could be a star of the World Cup?
Well, I think he could certainly do very well. Yeah, spoke about how highly I rate Sven for many weeks here. I think it must show how strong the Netherlands do have some outstanding defenders in their squad. But I think he's done everything he can. He's been consistent. He's produced high-level performances in the toughest league in the world. So I'm sure he's very pleased with the start he's made to his Newcastle career. And yeah, now we'll await the decision.
Obviously, he's a player that you and the club have tracked for a long time. But have you been surprised with just how quickly he has settled into the Premier League?
No, well, yeah, it's a difficult one to answer because you always have a vision of how you think a player will transition to the league. I felt confident that he would be able to handle the Premier League, hence why we signed him. How quickly that adaptation happens is always difficult to predict. But from day one, really, I think he looked really settled within the squad. I think he felt at ease in his surroundings. I think the players, again, he's a very popular member of the squad. The players really like him. I think they like his game as well because I think he's very expressive. He's really good with the ball, so the attacking players like his distribution and the way that he can find them. So I think it's been a really healthy start for him here. So yeah, really pleased.
And just on Alan Saint-Maximin, obviously he played throughout the game last week. He's been out injured during pre-season. You seem to have a set plan to try and get him physically ready. Will you have to have another plan for him during this mini pre-season to make sure that he is ready to return physically?
Well, I think every player has an individual plan based around the group work that we do because they're all so different in terms of their physiology. I think Maxi will really benefit from the time to train because he hasn't had a lot of training time. It's been difficult for him. There's been a lot of games. We've had to, of course, the closer you get to games, the more you have to rest their load or lighten their load. And that means you can't really get the fitness work in that you need to. So delighted to see him come through 90 minutes the other night. That'll do him the world of good.
Okay. Ian? Good morning, Eddie.
Morning.
I think it's 2 months this weekend since Ryan Fraser's started the game. Of course, he's injured now. Started the season probably with high hopes of a long run in the side. Since he's been out, we've had the goal-scoring run of Almir, one who could be seen as a direct rival of him, the emergence of Elliott, St. Max back, and of course Isaac coming in. He must have worries about his long-term future, Tony Natural. Can you give any assurances about his future role at Newcastle?
Well, he's an integral part of the squad. I think he contributed hugely last season. This season has been difficult because as you say, the performances of the players in the squad have really produced that competition for places, and I think I've always say that I would embrace that challenge if I was Ryan because that will get the best out of him. So yeah, it's a real challenge for places, not just for Ryan, it's for the other wingers as well, so it's good to see.
I mentioned Anderson there. Is he any nearer deciding where his international future lies?
I think that's something for Elliott to decide. Yeah, I'm not too sure on that.
Martin.
Eddie, going back to Callum, you were with him when he did his 2 cruciates. How long, maybe start with those recovery periods, especially when he did the second one?
How long were they?
Yeah, how long and dark, you know, that was a...
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I think initially there's always a shock, I think especially the first time that he got his injury, because he'd never experienced that before. I remember the game well. And I think that the first one's probably not as difficult maybe as the second one, because I think when you know what you've got to go through, you've already done it. You know it's a long road back. So I think, yeah, difficult moments for Callum. But as I say, he faced it and then fought back brilliantly from both in a way that just you could see his mental strength coming through, a real focus on the future, not on what had just happened, and not on the lost opportunity, on I'm going to come back better. And that was always his focus.
So is that single-mindedness the strength that's got him to the World Cup?
I would say so, and an inner confidence. I think he believes in himself, not in an arrogant way, not in a negative way. It's all positive, but he's got that inner confidence in himself and his ability, which I think all top players need.
On Newcastle, is that comes back perhaps after the World Cup? Saint-Maximin is fit. Does that mean the team is an attacking force? The best is yet to come.
Well, I think the best is yet to come anyway for the team. I think that's always going to be my belief, no matter what phase of performance we're in. I think you have to believe that. But I do genuinely believe it anyway. I think we've got a lot more to give. I think we've only just started in terms of trying to utilise the squad in the best way that we feel. There's more to come from individuals, and there's more to come from the team.
And for the next couple of weeks after Saturday, when you've got a bit of family time, does that mean your boys are going to get coached by you a lot more? And are they looking forward to that?
Probably not. I think they like it when they're away from me, to be honest. Because I do take my coaching bug then out on them. So yes, they will be. As long as it's light enough, by the time they return home from school, I'll be out there with them.
Welcome, Dom.
Hi, Eddie. You've talked about your pride in all the World Cup players, but given your past with Callum and what you've seen him go through, on a personal level, has it given you that bit more satisfaction?
Oh, well, yeah, I'd say I'm really pleased for Callum. Every situation is different. I'm very pleased for all of them in different ways. But my history with Callum, the length of time that I've been with him, as I've said, I've seen some of the disappointing moments he's had. I've also seen the highs. I've seen him grow into a Premier League player from a lower league player. I've seen him score hat-tricks in the Premier League and him shared those moments with him. But I know how desperate he was to go to the World Cup, so it was nice to share that moment with him.
And when you took charge, how early on were the conversations with him about the World Cup being a realistic target and you getting the best out of him again?
No, there weren't any. It was all about Newcastle. It was all about staying in the Premier League. And it was all about trying to build a team spirit and a togetherness that we needed to achieve those aims. So, no, England's only taken his focus, I think, probably this season. But I'd say the same for all the players. I'd say when this season started, the World Cup focus really came in. But I'd say never to the detriment of Newcastle. I think, as I said earlier, through all my players' experiences this year, it's been about this team. And once the final game ends, then it will turn to England.
And you know him better than anyone. Can he get even better?
I believe that for all my players, yes. I think there's areas to improve in his game, and I think he will, knowing Callum, will try and seek those, and we will try and help him. But yeah, of course, there's areas to improve.
Thank you.
If the worst does happen and Harry Kane was injured in the World Cup, can you reassure the nation that they're in safe hands with Callum?
Reassure the nation. It's an interesting one. Well, I think yes, I would. Well, I would back Callum in any situation that if he entered the pitch, he'd be able to score the goals that England need. I think that's always been in his DNA, the goal scoring ability, and as I said earlier, more importantly, I think the confidence to do it in any arena. I think that's his biggest strength.
Sorry, one last one. Where was the moment where you congratulated him on the call, and what was that like, given how long you've been with him?
It was actually quite a random event. I saw him on the corridor. There wasn't any great thing because we'd just finished training. We were coming in, and obviously the news came through, and then I bumped into Callum on the corridor. But it was just a nice moment just to share with him and the coaches.